Hello, I'm Laura Whitehouse. I'm a freelance graphic designer based near Belfast. Eventually, someone just said to me, just do it. You're never going to feel ready. Just do it. Leave your job. Quit now. So I did. I am ruthless at chasing invoices. I don't care about being perceived as rude or pushy. The work is done. You have the files. This is silly now.
Yes, there's Laura, who is based in Northern Ireland. She goes by the company name Mighty Fine, which we shall talk about. In fact, there's lots to talk about, and Laura's a lot of fun, so I hope you enjoy this episode. Show notes, as ever, at beingfreelance.com, or, of course, wherever you're listening or watching this, because there is video available on Spotify and YouTube as well. Should we crack on? Head to Northern Ireland, just outside Belfast. Head to this week's guest, and that is freelance graphic designer Laura Whitehouse. Hey, Laura.
Hello.
As ever, how about we get started hearing how you got started being freelance?
It started when I was a student. So one of the lesser known paths into graphic design is studying archaeology and anthropology. It's not one many take. It's pretty unique. I was studying that, but I love graphic design, and I did it up to A-level. So I'd studied graphic design, went off to study something a bit more academic, so that was really important to my parents, who had both left school at 16. But I just missed being creative, and I was standing around in lectures and being handed bags of soil, and my uni didn't offer a graphic design course. So I ended up doing a lot of freelance graphic design for student theatre shows. And I didn't charge anything to start with, because it was fun and I wanted to do it, and I loved Photoshop, and that was a nice way to spend my time. But as the years went on, and as I got into, third year of uni, I started charging 20 quid here, 20 quid there. So it started really early days, and then I kind of built up a client base. I got known at university for doing these posters, often, if not for money, for pints. And I decided then I wanted to be a graphic designer full time. So I got a job straight after uni, sort of via supermarket work at an agency, somehow conned someone into hiring me. But I kept the freelance work on because that's what I've been doing throughout my degree. So I ended up working full-time in an agency, working on the side for whoever would hire me, a mixture of still theatre, arts organisations, startups and things, doing not very good work, so I was still quite young and untrained, but for peanuts really. And then I'd use the money just for nights out and things. But it was always my aim to learn from agencies and then eventually go out on my own, because the idea of working a 9-to-5 forever was not for me. I couldn't stomach it. So yeah, I worked in the agency, went to another agency, and just built up my roster of clients. And it's all word of mouth. So it took from 2015, when I left uni, to 2020 to go fully freelance. Eventually, because someone just said to me, just do it. You're never going to feel ready. Just do it. Leave your job. Quit now. So I did. And that was that.
So 5 years of freelancing on the side. But it was all word of mouth. You weren't reaching out and saying, hey, I do theatre design or or band design or whatever it might have been.
Yeah. All word of mouth. I think, to be honest, because when I started out as a student and I was charging absolute peanuts, people were like, hey, get this mug. She'll do it for basically nothing. But I was really lucky. I think I went to obviously I went to some networking events, and I think my niche was that I was quite young when I started going to them, so it was already a bit interesting.
That's the first time I've heard your age as a niche. So you think your niche was where
okay, all right.
Everybody else was old and you were young?
I was super young and really hot, so obviously.
No. This was your USP, your unique
my USP
selling point.
was young. No, I think not niche in the business way. I heard you talking in the last episode actually about niching. It's not something I've ever done. What I mean was, I guess I stood out because everyone was a bit older, right, and I was 21, and clearly eager to get started. So I got to try lots of different bits of work for lots of different companies, just small projects here and there. And yeah, it just grew from there. It's all been word of mouth. Like everything has. Yeah.
That's so cool. Now, there must have also been a slight change in doing stuff for 20 quid and pints to raising that so that you felt confident in giving up a full-time job.
Yes. So how did that happen? That's a good question. Eventually, I started charging more, I would basically every couple of years run into someone who would tell me to up my rates. And that was normally someone much older than me, also a freelancer, either through an official mentoring scheme like Creative Edinburgh, which is where I lived briefly, or through, a guy that gave me my first freelance job who had known me for a very long time and said, come on, sort it out. So it was literally nudges from other people constantly telling me to up my rates. And it's terrifying sending that first email when you stop charging pittance. But the more you do it, the easier it is. And it's still now, even now, I raise my rates every now and again, and sending out that first quote with a new rate, I think, oh, they're not gonna say yes. And then they do, and you think, oh, great, sorted. That's perfect. So it's just other people who are more experienced telling you to do that. And I try and do that for younger freelancers as well. When I meet them, I always ask them what they're charging, and I'll tell them if I think they need to bump it up. Because as you probably know, charging too little doesn't help anyone. It certainly doesn't help you. And it also means people don't treat you as professionally, I think.
So how did it evolve? Because you said, I don't have a niche, beyond the age thing. Which is interesting, though, because when I first sort of came across you online, I would have said that you were like a film and theatre kind of sort of graphic designer.
Yeah.
Right? So we can sort of come on to why that might have been. But is that true? Like you feel like you are a generalist?
Yes. I just don't share the work that doesn't fit into those categories. And yet people still come. I'm baffled too. I don't understand. So my Instagram and my website is full of work for arts organisations. I work a lot with women, normally women who are levelling up their brand, small companies, and just, more creative side of graphic design. But then in the background, the stuff I don't share really is I do a lot of marketing materials for universities, financial reports for, wealth management firms, layout stuff. And I guess I don't share it because I don't find it interesting to look at. I mean, I try and make it lovely, but I don't think it's interesting to see, really. They sort of, once you've seen one report, you've seen them all. I do a lot of work that you don't see, basically. And I will rarely turn a project down. The only work I turn down is male-owned startups. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. So actually there is niche or work that you like to be known for, and that's what you put out in the world, when in reality, of course, if stuff comes to you, you're happy to still do it.
Yes, and I think I love the variety is good for me. It's why I went freelance to start with. I wanted the variety and be able to say yes to everything and not just be given the things I was going to say good at, but I hope I'm good at the other things too. But the variety is what keeps me happy.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you say, because word of mouth has obviously served you well, how do you think, or maybe there is no answer to this, but if there is, we could strike gold here. How do you think you can encourage word of mouth? Like, is there a science or a secret way of doing it, or?
I think just having really positive interactions with people and being very genuine and putting your hands up and when you think something's not quite working and being honest is what people really value when they're working with someone. Just coming across as a human, I think that people then want to work with you specifically. I guess they feel like a loyalty to you, which is good. I guess also being good at what you do helps. I always ask for Google reviews, but I don't know if that's particularly helpful. I try and get those. Is that word of mouth? I guess not. I think just leaving a positive taste in someone's mouth is good. That sounds really wrong, doesn't it? That doesn't sound right. I don't think that was gold, but it's not gold. Just try and be nice. I think that's it.
It screams social media clip, to be honest, but maybe not how we were intending. So would you ever reach out to people within your network that you've then built up? Like, how do you stay in touch with them? Do you reach out and say, hey, I'm doing this, I have availability for this, or?
Not anymore. So I went freelance fully in 2020. My last day at work was February 27th, or whatever the date was. That was the day before you could be furloughed. So I was royally screwed. And I had a slew of client jobs that were just cancelled immediately. And I thought, God, I'm in trouble here. So I sent out lots of emails to various companies that basically told me to go away. They told me to go away in a nice way, but that was the only time I've done outreach work and actively sought work. And oddly, one of them, despite saying no in 2020, emailed me last year for a job because I emailed them 5 years ago. And I thought, God, that's mad. But so it does work. I don't really. I sort of leave people to their own devices. I don't put pressure on clients to work with me, or I'm not a hard sell person. I think if you want to work with me and we get on, brilliant, that's perfect. And I try and, no pressure really. Sales isn't my forte. I just think if I try and just be genuine, and if I'm excited about a project, I think that comes across. Would I do outreach? Possibly. I think, you know what? This year, I really want to do packaging for like a small food brand, maybe like a woman that makes her own ketchup or something, you know. And I was thinking I should just email people nearby and see if they want to hire me. So I guess that I have been considering that, but it's because I want to get into that. I want to give that a go rather than I need work in general. I think I'm coming across as horrifically smug.
Not at all.
Okay,
Not at all.
yes.
I run a smug filter over the whole thing, otherwise
Perfect.
I'm scuppered as well. It's fine. But I said, well, I thought your niche was like film and design. You did start putting that out into the world. You did a podcast, right? Or you do a podcast,
Yes.
which is more centered around that. How did that come about? How was that?
So there's an area of film and TV where you make graphic props, and they're the things that people are holding or reading or looking at in shows. So Bridgerton's out, I'll use that as an example. There might be Lady Whistledown's papers or the banners, the tapestries, the carpets. They're all designed by a graphic designer. And I decided just before going freelance that I wanted to give that a whirl. So I had a brief foray into the film and TV industry, which mixed success. I did a few big jobs. I had a really good time, and I also had a not a good time. If you don't like the constraints of a 9 to 5, then the constraints of an 8 till 6 in film and TV is not for you. But off the back of that, I worked with loads of really interesting people, and one of them was Steve, a fellow Steve. And he set up a podcast called Opening Credits, where he interviewed graphic designers in film. I was a guest in the first series, and he said, I had a really great time talking to you. Do you want to join me as a co-host? Which I'm expecting to happen here as well. So, you know, it's my 100% success rate in infiltrating podcasts. And I said yes. And then we interviewed, it's sort of on a hiatus, so I'm talking in past tense here, but it's all online, you can listen. We interviewed lesser known roles in film and TV. So intimacy coordinators, greens teams who sort the plants for film and TV. And then we got interest from a company that do promotion, and they sent us to interview some more big wigs. Yeah, we did some really cool stuff. And it's a really hard industry to get into. So we ask everyone that we meet, how did you get into it? And we hope for answers that aren't, my dad works in the industry. We are on a bit of a hiatus at the minute, but the episodes are online if you want to check them out.
How did you find that experience, and did it help you in any way?
I loved it. I love talking to people, and I love talking in general, as you can probably tell. And it was really nerve-wracking, I think, talking. I used to be kind of scared of the big wigs in film, and it was nice to just have a normal chat and not feel intimidated by them. Also, it was nice knowing everyone feels they're winging it. Every single person feels they have completely accidentally ended up where they are, no matter whether they are top of the chain or bottom of the chain. So that was really nice.
That is a good reminder. Do you feel like it helped your freelance business?
No. No. It was much like Instagram, purely a vanity project, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I did it because and do it because I enjoy it. Definitely didn't feed into work or gaining clients or anything, but that was never the intention. I guess, did it help my freelance business in terms of my process? I think it made me more confident to start just saying whatever I wanted to say and standing by my guns if a project wasn't going quite right. Yeah, I think that was helpful.
So you mentioned Instagram. I've brought up the podcast, but how do you put yourself out online? What works for you?
It's changed recently. So it's only Instagram. I don't use LinkedIn. I don't find it fun. I decided earlier this year I was only going to do social media that I found fun to do. So last year or the year before, I've worked with different social media people and they've all been fab and they've helped me do videos and work out content strategies, etc. But I found it really overwhelming and I didn't really like being told what to do, which is no fault of their own. But I just thought this doesn't feel very genuinely me. It feels very strategized. So I decided at the start of this year I was going to just post every day whatever I wanted to, with a vague order to things. You know, you've got to have some sort of rhyme and reason. But I decided to post just because I wanted to, and because I wanted to share insight into what it's like being a business owner without any of the sheen. So I try and share behind the scenes of how I make things. So theatre posters, like little Photoshop tips and tricks. I've got quite a lot of young graphic designers following me, and I just want to help them. I had a lot of people helping me. The reality of owning a business and the kind of financial side of things, and just to reassure people, you know, you never feel like you've fully made it. It's never a moment where you wake up and think, oh yeah, done that, work, complete. So yeah, I post every day, or I have been for a month, check in next month, we'll see how it goes. A mixture of just personal stuff and projects and yeah, work. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's nice. It's such a community on there, and I have met so many people that I talk to all the time via Instagram, and these people are virtual strangers, but we talk about the books we're reading, they recommend places to go, we talk about the work we're up to. It's such a nice community.
When you say you post every day, is that as in on your grid, as it were, or to your stories? Like, are you doing carousels or reels, or like what sort of thing have you found working?
So it's every day on my grid. The algorithm is a mysterious beast, isn't it? I try not to do it for reach or for likes or for anything. I mean, I know that's important, but I try and not worry about those things and not really think about it. So every day I will tend to alternate between a carousel, which are performing really well at the moment. I find the carousels have more longevity. So you post them and nothing will really happen. And then people still comment weeks later and they have second spikes and things. Don't quote me on that. That's just what I found. And then I do reels where I just do some B-roll of me hanging around. And then I do more of a caption where I talk about, I normally do like a listicle of, what was one I did recently, what I thought success would feel like when I was younger versus what it feels like now, things like that. And then just selfies, things I'm up to. I'm reading there's like a lot of romantasy at the moment. I have been for the last 6 weeks. It's like A Court of Thorn and Roses and stuff like that. And I just posted all of the books I've read and said, help me stay immersed in this genre. It's not relevant to my job, but I wanted to, it's what I talk to people about in my DMs. And I thought, well, I'll just chat about it out in the open, and it's nice. It's nice to see everyone talk to each other as well. It's like a crossover episode. Like, oh. So yeah, that's how I use Instagram. But I am not a social media pro or expert, so this is definitely like, I just do it because I find it fun, and I might stop if I don't find it fun. So
you did say though that you had worked with social media. Like, it sounded like maybe you'd hired people to try and figure out your marketing or something. Is that right?
Yes. More out of curiosity, really. It was never a need for work. It was more that I wanted to put myself out there more, and I wanted to feel confident. I get a lot out of putting myself out there and talking to people. I find it really rewarding. And Instagram for me was a place where, with reels and everything, I suddenly didn't know how to do that. And I felt really overwhelmed. And I wanted someone to help me figure out how to talk to people and how that world works. And I got really in my own head about posting the right thing and not being annoying and everything. So I hired a lovely person called Chloe, who runs a company called Unscrunch, and she did a little strategy for me. And then I worked with Lynn at Noodle Horse Media, and she recorded some videos for me. And they were both really great. But it wasn't so much for sales. It was more so that I could feel more confident just putting stuff out there. I know it's very contradictory because it's like, why are you doing that? if it's not to do with your business. But I don't know. I find it enjoyable. I'm maybe a bit self-obsessed. Maybe, I don't know. It's literally just a vanity project, and I hired them, for that. And I will say, I have never ever had an inquiry via Instagram that has ever led to a job. It is predictable. Every single time someone DMs me, I say, yeah, send me an email. I don't conduct business on here. And they either never do, or they do, and then they never reply when I reply. No exceptions. So why do I bother? Who knows?
That is weird. You see, I like to think that surely it all feeds into itself as to, it gets to almost to a point where people forget like where they've seen you, for example. So I'm sure I would have seen you on Instagram first then, especially if you're not on LinkedIn. One of those things coming up, or like the podcast, for example, or promo for the podcast, and it all kind of just raises this existence of, oh yeah, Laura.
Yeah.
Although, there's a question. You have a business name, right?
Yes. I'm Mighty Fine Design, or Mighty Fine, as I'm going to be known as. This is a whole thing. I'm currently straddling my name, Laura Whitehouse, not even my legal name, because I just got married, and Mighty Fine, the agency. When I went limited a few years ago, I wanted to ditch Laura Whitehouse because I had notions of growing, hiring people. And you can't say, oh, I work for Laura Whitehouse. That's weird. It's very vain. So I thought Mighty Fine Design, it's a bit cowboy-y. I used to watch cowboy films with my granddad. So it just seemed to fit very nicely. And then I decided I didn't want to grow, and I was very happy working for myself and hiring freelancers, which I do for some projects. But I wanted to move from Laura Whitehouse to Mighty Fine, which will be happening imminently. I'm having a new website done. It's been going on for about a year. It's a hard one, I think, for designers, because I am by no means pretending that it's more than me. Like, I think it is just me, and I like that personal side of things. But I think having it be Mighty Fine gives more of a scope for when I say I'm bringing on someone else for your project, or I'm subcontracting work, which I don't do often, but sometimes within a project there might be a little bit of artworking that needs doing, and I'll always tell a client about that, but it's less of a surprise, I'm going to be a bit more upfront about that. And I also think when going for bigger jobs, not being called Laura Whitehouse will be better. This is based in no fact. Like, this is just pure vibes. My entire business is just, that seems like a good idea. So yes, my business name is Mighty Fine, but I'm still very much going to be a one-woman company.
So how long have you been Mighty Fine?
Since 2022, but I haven't really used it until recently. I'm doing that thing that I always tell clients not to do, which is roll out your brand bit by bit so it becomes incredibly confusing and no one knows what's going on. It's really effective and doesn't cause any confusion whatsoever.
I did see you describe yourself on LinkedIn, as it happens, as a one-woman design agency. Like, not in your bio or anything, but in one of your posts. So that did come up.
This must have been a while ago.
Well, yeah, because you don't post.
I don't post. I don't use it.
You don't post. It was probably Christmas, and it was still the most recent thing. Yes, yeah, but I liked actually the post that you did was good.
Thanks.
It was looking back at your year.
I did post that. I designed that for Instagram, and then I thought, stick that on LinkedIn.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it since, so God knows if anyone even commented. Just shoved it out there, moved on.
And in there, you did mention, as you just have, about working with other freelancers. You had this thought that you might grow an agency. You've decided not, that it won't be.
Yeah.
Is that because something happened, or just a general feel?
As humans, we tend to just assume the end result is growth. Like, that is what you want. You grow, you get bigger and bigger. And I spoke to so many people, mostly women. I had enough clients who had grown agencies, closed agencies, and were starting off again by themselves, and I was doing the branding for them. that I thought, this is a pattern here. They start off by themselves, they get teams of 3 and then a team of 8 and then a team of 20, and then, oh God, they're having a miserable time, and it's just admin, and they're responsible for people's mortgages, and just close that business down and start by myself. And I thought, well, I'll just skip out that middle bit. I'll just go straight to the end. And I love hiring freelancers. Like, I hire animators and 3D artists and copywriters and photographers, and you can hand choose who's good for each project, and you get to know them really well. And it's a lovely, I call it like my little black book of people I like working with. And I love recommending them to other people as well. And they're not bound to me and I'm not bound to them. And we just are individually responsible for our mortgages, which I really like. And I mean, never say never. You don't know. As you can probably tell, I'm slightly flittery as a person. So in 10 years, maybe I'll own an empire. But for now, at least for the foreseeable, I can't imagine ever hiring anyone properly.
Do you find there's ever like the reciprocal, as in some of those people also hire you to work on projects?
Yes, yeah, all the time. So funnily enough, there's a great pair of marketers called Cup of Ambition. They work mostly in theatre, Izzy and Grace. They are some of the best people, and they hire me for projects all the time. And they also hire Pip Films to do the filming for a lot of theatre shows, Erica. And she has just hired me for a project. And all of the photographer I worked with about 2 weeks ago, he got in touch with me to do his brand. We sort of throw work around each other. I'm pretty sure in a few years we'll just realise it's all worked out equal and no one's paid anyone anything. But it's really nice. Yeah, the world is small. I sometimes think the theatre and arts world is very tiny, because I design theatre programmes as well, and you will always get a list of credits for production crew, and I recognise most of the names. I'm like, oh yeah, this we all did this together, and yeah, it's nice.
And how do you find like the managing? Maybe you don't feel like you're managing those people when you hire them and you work with them.
I find it easy now. I didn't used to find it easy. So I worked on a TV show that was not very well reviewed called Secret Invasion. This is relevant, I promise. And I had to actually manage 2 junior designers on that job for 6 months. And it was horrible. And I was a terrible manager. I mean, I cried in a toilet. I was very stressed. It was not good. And I passed that on to them. And that was not good. And I realised then that also was another reason why I thought I can't grow an agency. And so when I started hiring freelancers, I was really worried about micromanaging and being too responsible. But actually, over time, you find the people that you like working with. It's only hard when you're working with the wrong people. I think the freelancers I work with now, I trust implicitly, and I think they're fantastic. I don't need to manage them. They do their thing, I do my thing, we come together, and it looks great, ideally. I have had experience of hiring freelancers where it hasn't gone so well, and I never make a fuss. I always pay them. I don't even tell them, which might be terrible actually. I normally say thanks so much, paid, move on. I just don't hire them again. But that hasn't happened for a long time because now I have a set group of people that I like.
You mentioned earlier a mentorship scheme. So have you had any mentors or business coaches or any, or people around you, like mastermind or any of that kind of thing?
Yes.
These years?
Oh my God, I'm going to name drop so hard. When I started out, one of my first proper freelance jobs at uni was designing the student prospectus, which was like an alternative prospectus for students. And a lovely man called Theo Sund was head of marketing at the student union, and he hired me. And a lovely Swedish man in his 30s, just calm personified. And he taught me everything. He sent me on an Illustrator course paid for by the university. He taught me how to use InDesign. He fixed my InDesign files for me. He was constantly just hyping me up, because bear in mind, I wasn't studying the right subject and I sort of felt a bit like an imposter. He was constantly saying, "Oh, Tinker, that's lovely. Oh, Tinker, that's so nice." Tinker is a pet name. It's good. It's fond. Okay. It's nice. So I was not groomed. He was lovely. And he still is lovely. He's not dead. And he taught me so much and was so patient. That was one. And then my first agency straight out of uni, one in Oxford, Jem Proctor ran that. She's an incredible designer. She's an incredible brain. She's an incredible human. And these are still friends of mine. And she hired me without a relevant degree. So she's got to be pretty cool, right? She just said, yeah, I like you. Let's go. I spilled tea everywhere in my interview, like all over the table. I was getting flustered. But yeah, she was fantastic. And that was great because I remember I'd had a hard month or so. I worked there for about 3 years, and I think maybe a year in I started really struggling to design anything. I don't know what happened. I just hit a bit of a wall, and I was being really slow suddenly and just really in my own head about everything. And she pulled me to one side after work one day, and she asked me in for a chat, and I thought, oh God, I'm going to be in such trouble. And she said, you're not in trouble. What's up? Like something, are you all right? We just had a really great chat about why I was struggling. And she said, okay, well, let's fix this. Let's break everything down. Let's give you one small thing to do that's just really achievable. And it fixed it. And I just felt the next day I just nailed the whole thing. Like I just aced it. And yeah, so she was great. And then who else has there been? There's been Kosh Bharti, who always loves a shout out. I worked with him in film, and he taught me loads about film. And I laughed every single day with him as well, which was great. And through Creative Edinburgh, which is this great scheme if you live in Edinburgh, I got a mentor called Owen O'Leary, who was very much more of a structured mentor. Like, I think we had 6 sessions over 6 weeks. And in the first session, he said to me, tell me about what you do. And I did. And he said, tell me why you're not freelance. And I did. And he said, that's silly. Hand in your notice tomorrow. So I did.
Whoa.
Yeah. He was like, daft, leave. And I did. It took me a bit longer than the next day. But yeah, literally, I think about 2 weeks later, I handed in my notice. He costed everything out for me, basically. He said, this is what you need. Tell me about all your expenses. Let's work out how many days a month. Also, your rate's too low. Yeah, he's fab. He's in PR. Owen O'Leary. He's lovely. So yeah, mentors are important.
Wow. That is important. Also, just in case it needs underlining for anybody, the bit about, like when you slowed down and you were struggling and you weren't quite sure why, what was the tip?
Just break it down into small pieces. Start with something tiny. What's that saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Yeah.
Sorry to all our elephant listeners. If that was triggering. But that's magic. And then the next day you're back on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've just mentioned that because sometimes very often that happens to us, but we're working by ourselves. So to maybe stick that as a reminder somewhere to get back in it. Can I do one thing and point you in the direction of beingfreelance.com, which has everything on it, including the newsletters? Somebody said to me the other day, I've been listening for ages. I didn't know you had a newsletter till you mentioned it. And there is a lesson to us all. We have to keep mentioning what we do so that other people remember that that's what we do and hire us or refer us. And in that case, I shall mention again, yes, I do a newsletter for freelancers as well. You can sign up for it at beingfreelance.com. Community. Right, let's get back to Laura's story. How do you find dealing with your workload? So one thing I noticed when you did here's what I got up to last year was like you had a lot of clients, you had a lot of projects, a lot of invoices going on, all great. So yeah, what's your workload like? Do you tend to work on one thing at a time? You have multiple things going on. How are you managing that sort of thing?
No, I actually counted yesterday. I have 45 projects on at the moment.
Sorry, I've just taken a sip of my drink. 45?
Isn't that unhinged? Oh, it's unhinged. But I think it's that one bite at a time thing, They're all completely different. And they're all at completely different stages as well. So some I'm in mood board stages. So that's, I just need to do a couple of rough bits. Some are in polishing stages. Some are in the chunky, meaty bit. But I work best when I have a lot on. Like I'm the worst when I have nothing on. So I need that. I need all of these plates to juggle. Otherwise I can't. You don't juggle plates to spin. So otherwise I can't really concentrate. I need to feel a bit overwhelmed in order to do anything. That's how I work best.
But in recognising that that's how you work best.
Yeah.
So how do you tend to work with your payments, just out of interest? Like, are you a milestone type person, or
No.
if these projects are going on for a while?
I do half up front and half when we're finished. Anything to reduce the admin. So milestone payments are great, but then you have to remember where you've put the milestones and remember to invoice, and it's a whole other thing. So I always take half up front. Sometimes, maybe, I mean, I've done this twice in the last few years, I will do 25% payments if they're a really small business and they're just starting out, and they seem really nice. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But in general, half up front, half at the end. And I have 14-day terms, which some people just disregard, and I don't really chase. I would give them 30. That's terrible to say, isn't it? But I'm like, the impression of 14-day terms. But in reality, I have 30 days. Yeah, that's how I charge. I say that after it's been a long time, 30 days, bit more. I am ruthless at chasing invoices. I don't care about being perceived as rude or pushy. I am not rude or pushy, but if they perceive it as that, I don't care, because I think the work is done. You have the files. This is silly now. I would always try and get a phone number and call them rather than email, because it's much harder to explain to someone on the phone why you haven't paid them. Oh God, I sound like a horrible person. I back that though. You have to.
Don't backtrack. Stick to this. Yeah. This doesn't make you sound horrible.
I think it's awkward, isn't it? A phone call is awkward, and I live it. I love that awkwardness. It's so good.
Okay, you sound like an awful person.
You told me not to backtrack, Steve, so...
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. So you will phone them up and you will say...
Hello, I sent you an invoice. It hasn't been paid. Do you need more time? And they'll say, what invoice is that? And I'll say, let me just send it to you again while we're on the phone. And then I'll send it to them again. And they'll say, And I will say, can you just let me know when it... I'm not saying you need to pay it now. I'm saying, can you let me know when it's possible for you to pay? And they will give me a date. And I'll say, great, I'll give you a call the next day if it's not been paid. And they always do. They always pay it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm not like press ganging them for money immediately, but I am saying I will call you again. I will.
Well, actually, when you said, do you need more time, that comes across as very...
That's what I said. I'm not rude. So if they think it's rude or pushy, then I don't...
That's on them.
Disagree, yes.
What would you say you found the most challenging part of being freelance?
The financial side of things. I say that chasing invoices to me is not financial. I think the PAYE versus dividends versus tax decisions, it stresses me out. Like HMRC terrifies me. I'm, for some reason, always worried I'm going to be arrested. And I've always had accountants and I always trust them implicitly. But that being said, accountants aren't tax advisors, right? So like they do the numbers, they do everything legally, but they're not telling you the best way to do things, which I didn't really realise until a couple of years ago. I had an accountant who very much did whatever I asked, but I think there was a miscommunication in that I thought she would stop me if it was a bad idea, but she wouldn't. If it was illegal, she would, but and that has been really hard. I think I did make some bad decisions financially, I think, in the first few years, but I think that comes from just not understanding. I'm not very good at... There's something my brain does when talking about financials, and it makes me want to cry. I can't do it. So that's been the hardest part, I think. But we're on the up. We are on the up. I've got some fantastic accountants and I've had them for a couple of years now. And we had a really good meeting when I first went to them where I just basically told them everything. And they said, okay, we're going to sort this. And I was like, thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
Yeah, that is good to hear. Not just the fact that it's feeling better about it now, but yes, yeah. They're not. Our accountants aren't necessarily there saying, "You seem to be taking a lot of dividends. Are you also setting that aside as your own personal tax, or anything like that?"
If I could just hand everything financial to someone else, I happily would. But to do that, you have to pay the someone else. I don't. That's the problem. I can't. I feel like throwing money after a problem. but we're on the up. But every time I've spoken to HMRC, they have been so nice, but they still scare me.
Yeah. It does feel like there is an opportunity, if any freelance financial people are listening, it feels like there is an opportunity for some kind of freelance financial ops service that sits, it's not your accountant, it's something else, which looks at your figures and goes,
yeah.
And they look at it maybe every quarter, for example, so that they stop you before you've made something, you've gone too far down one route.
I would love an email every month after I've made sales saying, you're fine, or you're okay, or stop spending money. Just someone telling me these things. And I mean, the good thing about my accounts at the minute, the ones I've had for a couple of years now that I will keep, they very much tell me long in advance about costs, and I pay them monthly and things. Whereas my last accountant would suddenly be like, oh, obviously there's a £15,000 bill. You've just got that set aside, Laura, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, cool, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%. Thanks. Sorry, I shouldn't say her name. 100%. Lady. But these ones are better. But yeah, I would love a freelance financial ops person to just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down every month.
Well, there you are. We've put it out there. Somebody pay attention on LinkedIn and start. It needs to exist.
It does.
Back with Laura's story in a moment. There's still plenty to come, including for Truth and Lie Game. And as you can probably tell from her personality already, she's going to have put some effort into that. First, though, to remind you about the Being Freelance community. You're not alone being freelance. Everything is so much nicer when there's other people around you who get what it's like. A place for you to ask questions, to celebrate, to commiserate, to join us for online co-working, for the book club, for in real life things. It's all right there at beingfreelance.com. Click on community, come say hi, give us a try, right? Because, you know, if after a few months or whatever you think, this isn't for me, then fine. But honestly, you don't need to freelance alone, and it would be amazing to have you with us. So come find us, beingfreelance.com, click on community. Right, let's get back to Laura's story. I always do this thing where I ask for 3 facts about yourself to make 2 true, 1 a lie, and let me figure out the lie. What do you have for me?
Okay. I have an older sister, and we were banned from entering the same competitions growing up because it got too intense.
Okay.
Number 2, Gary Lineker once gave me a framed copy of the front page of our local paper with my face on it, and I did not know who he was. Number 3, I was asked to stop entering the local village fete.
These are... Okay, I like the pattern in this. So Gary Lineker, for listeners around the world, is not just one of our most famous footballers in England, but now TV celebrity. Like he's been on the telly forever. Mm-hmm. And for that matter, is now like a podcasting mogul. So he is a big deal. How old were you though? You didn't know. He handed you what?
The front cover of our local paper in a frame with my face on it. I was 7.
What was the local paper?
The Leicester Mercury.
Oh, okay. So Gary Lineker has a big affinity. He's really linked to Leicester.
He's from Leicester.
Right. And he played for Leicester and he...
Face of Walker's Crisps.
Are they from Leicester?
They're from Leicester, yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that bit.
Yeah. So are Ladybird books. Fun fact.
I can't believe that wasn't in your facts. Okay, obviously everybody's going to have a go at me if I don't ask this supplementary question, which is, why were you on the front page of the paper?
I had written a winning entry, a book review. I wrote it about George's Marvellous Medicine. So yeah, they obviously printed the paper with my face on. I was wearing a really glittery headband that said Laura on, just in case you weren't sure.
Early on, you were into personal branding. I like that.
Bring it back.
I mean, that would be great at a networking event, wouldn't it? Right. That feels true. Right, but these are all competition-led, so that could easily be a lie as well. You've just picked Gary Lineker because you're both from the same place. So what's the first one? So you and your sister were banned from entering the same competition. What's the age gap between you and your sister? She's
1.5 years older, so close.
Older.
Close, yeah.
And what sort of what was the problem here?
We'd always push it too far. And I think my parents were just really sick of us crying. I mean, I don't want to say brawling, but it definitely got to brawling at points. But you know, when you won competitions when you're younger, like you'd write off to things, you would always get a letter through the post because you didn't have email, you were kids. And an envelope would arrive, I would say, every other day because of the amount of competitions we would enter. And whenever it arrived, just with one of our names and not the others, it would be like immediate weapon, like just a fight. Weaponized, yeah. It was, so yeah. So we couldn't, like, our school sports.
This has to be true. Go on.
It got to the point where our school stopped us participating in the same sports day. We had to alternate years that we could compete in.
No, it didn't.
And we're not even sporty. Like, it's just, we're not even sporty. To be fair, half the school wouldn't compete every time, but they would always make sure that it was like we weren't together.
Do you know, part of me wants to come to your house at Christmas to see you and your sister play ball games, just to witness.
I don't even know. You know what?
Rivalry.
We haven't for so long because I don't know if the band's still in place, but.
Okay, and you were banned from entering your village fete.
So, have you been to a village fete before? It's have you been to?
Yeah.
So they have a variety of categories, and you get points for coming first, second, or third in each one. So it would be like vegetable layout, flower arranging. You'd make like a tablescape, you know. But for kids, it was a bit more simple. So they had like little like finger painting or whatever it used to be. But if you came first, you get 3 points. If you came second, you got 2, etc., etc.
Wow.
And then there was an overall winner. And I got overall winner 5 years in a row. And they were like, you need to, that's enough now. That's enough. But it was anonymous, right? So when you entered the competitions, they hid your name. So they didn't know who they were awarding points to. So there was no stopping me other than asking me not to enter.
Oh my God. These facts are amazing. I mean, the trouble is they all feel really true. Sister rivalry and the village fete. Like, either you have concocted this and acted it amazingly, which means instead of designing the posters, you should be on stage in these theatre productions. Or 1 and 3 are definitely true. And Gary Lineker, I mean, maybe you did enter a competition. Maybe you were on the front page, but maybe Gary Lineker didn't. I'm going to say the Gary Lineker giving you a photo thing is the lie.
I'm an only child.
No way!
Yes!
Wow.
Yeah. Whew, that was, my heart's racing. Oh, God.
I so believe the sister rivalry.
Yeah. It makes sense because it's weird to do those two things when you're an only child, isn't it? It's a bit odd.
But I do love it. You got banned from your village fete.
Yes. Banned is strong. I mean, I was asked by a lovely old woman can I maybe stop? Can you maybe? That's maybe enough, isn't it? That's enough ribbons, Laura.
Okay. One thing I hadn't asked you about, how do you feel about your work-life balance? Because it sounds like you enjoy your work. It sounds like you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
How's work-life balance? How's that figuring out?
It's good recently, actually. I think I got really into reading at the start of this year, and that has helped. That's such a tangent. But I used to work all the time. In the evenings, in the mornings, at weekends, because I love it. And my work doesn't feel like work, which I'm aware is a very lucky position to be in. Obviously, there are times it does. But in general, it's what I would choose to do. It was like my activity of choice. But since I got really into these romantasy books, I don't work in the evenings anymore. And it's actually, I think it's making me a better person. I think having something, because I used to always, in the evenings, I would work and watch TV. Every time I work, something is on, whether it's the radio or the TV. I like that double stuff going on. And you can't work and read. So that's really helped me to carve out time where I'm not working. And it is helping me get a bit more of a life, really. Because if I was just watching TV, for example, I would think, well, I might as well be working because I can do both, and which isn't a really healthy attitude to have. So, yeah, I'm going to try and keep this up. But I've always worked a lot more than most of my friends, Not in a, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. Because I love what I do and it's so creative. I don't think that will ever change. But yeah, I think having an activity where I can't do it is good for me.
That's so true. Laura, if you could tell your younger self one thing about being freelance, what would that be?
That it was doable. It's absolutely doable. You need to take the risk and it will feel scary, but it will work out. It's not something you're really told about in school, that you can work for yourself. It would make me much less panicked as a young adult if I knew what I knew now. If I just knew that it would be fine, I would eventually be freelance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes though I think, but also you meet in that period when you haven't done it sooner, for example, you meet people, you learn things from being in those companies, be it I'd do it this way or I wouldn't do it that way, as well as...
Can I change my answer? I've got a better answer. Oh my God. Okay. When you start going freelance, men will randomly ask you to talk about their business over coffee, right? And you'll be really early days in your career and they'll say, let's just go for a coffee because I've got this great new startup idea and I want to talk to you about it. And you'll be like, yeah, cool. And then you'll be like half an hour away from the coffee and they'll say, oh, do you mind if we meet in a pub instead? And then you'll go to the pub. And then they'll just talk at you about their business idea for like 3 hours and you'll be too polite to leave because they'll be talking. And then they will never hire you and you will never hear from them again. Just don't go. Don't go. I'm telling you, I think it's something specific about maybe being a younger woman when you're starting out and you're excited for these opportunities. Also, I'm a mug and I just think it's nice. But no, they don't meet those men. It's a waste of time.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry. I had to get that off my chest.
No, I'm so glad we're here for you, Laura.
Thank you. They were nice men, don't get me wrong. Yeah, nice guys.
But this happened multiple times, that suggests.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 times, yeah. Which is enough. It's enough. And the business ideas were always completely incomprehensible. Like they were like something to do with data or, I don't know, the economy or science. And it was like just ramblings of a madman. And you'd be sitting there, I would be sitting there like, oh, okay, that's cool. I think, yeah, there's something about being an approachable woman, I think, that means sometimes you can be taken advantage of when you're starting out. So don't meet those men, is what I would say. Can you keep that in?
Definitely keep that in. But what would your advice be, though? So say somebody has, like, you know, an opportunity's come your way.
Yeah.
if we're not necessarily picking on men with startups, but like, how do we get around that? Because there is also that time sink in when people have said, oh, can you come in for a coffee or, you know, let's meet. And you're like, okay, but that's like a 45-minute drive. And then, okay, we're going to have coffee. And like, you know, there's this whole time and costing. Yeah. And yet also you're always aware that meeting people is good, connections being made. Yeah. Like how would you wrestle that thought or answer it?
I always knew in these specific cases beforehand that it was weird. I always had a gut feeling and I never listened to it. You just have to listen to your gut. You'll know if it's odd. But also, if you're really not sure on that, because that is pretty vague, just protect your time. So make it clear before you go, especially if you have a weird feeling, that you have half an hour. Like, oh, great, but I've got to go at X time. Like, love to meet you, but we'll need to dash at. Because then you have a get out clause. Because you have to invest time. You have to meet people. You don't know, do you? But if you're not sure or you get any sort of weird feeling, just ring fence the time you have so you're not stuck there for 4 hours. It's exhausting. I stand by it.
Yeah. No, do you know what, though? That is great advice, whether their situation is weird or not. But no, thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Am I going to get a lot of hate from this entire thing?
Do you know, I'm so conscious that the whole way through this, gradually my webcam, or because it's on my screen, has been tilting gradually like this. And so I've been having to lean further and further like this to stay in shot. I was wondering
why you were doing that.
Because originally there was quite a border above this picture and it's totally gone now.
Do you want me to hunch?
Can we just huddle
Yeah,
in?
no, this is cool, yeah. It's totally normal and fine.
Right, I tell you what. Look, so this is ridiculous. I've got to retilt this.
Retilt it.
Oh, there we go. Right. Laura, thank you so much. Go to beingfreelance.com. There will be links through so that you can find Laura online. Go see what she's up to. Check out her work. Go say hi on Instagram. Unless you are a man with a startup.
No, sorry.
Laura, it's been so good chatting to you. And all the best being freelance.
Thank you.
We are done. How much fun was that? As I mentioned, go to beingfreelance.com as well as the links through to Laura. You will find loads of other episodes, over 350 of them. Make sure you have subscribed and followed. And if you've enjoyed this, please do think about sharing it with other freelancers so that they can know that it exists as well. I'm out of here. I'll see you on Instagram, LinkedIn, or of course in the Being Freelance community. It'd be great to see you there. Or for another one of these very soon indeed. In the meantime, you have a great week. Being Freelance.